meeting of the Grafton Finance Committee to order. This meeting is being held pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. The various boards and committees representing the town of Grafton will conduct their public meetings and hearings via remote participation. No in-person attendance of the public will be permitted. This is a public hearing this evening. So I just wanted to go over a couple of the ground rules that we're gonna follow. Once the public hearing starts and we start covering the article, I'll announce the article to be discussed, introduce the person presenting the article. They'll give us a brief overview of the article. I'll give the Finance Committee members an opportunity to ask questions. And then members of the public that may be attending, we will ask them to participate in the public hearing through the Q&A function. And Barry has been gracious enough to agree to monitor the Q&A. And he will ask those questions that show up on that, and we'll try to get those answered as well. Right now, I see no attendees. So right now, we'll take attendance of the Finance Committee members present. Gopal?
Are you going to project the question on the warrant so that all of us can see it?
We can put it up on the screen. I can either share the screen or Susan can share the screen.
Thank you.
We'll get it. The only problem with that is when the screen is shared, I can't see everybody that's talking. So it makes it very difficult to make sure I'm able to talk to everybody, but we can put it up. We can go through the presentation and take it down when we start asking the questions.
Sure. Or you can tell us where to find it. That will be fine as well.
Susan sent out today, you should have received an email from Susan this afternoon with a packet for tonight. In that packet has all the warrant articles.
I'll get it from there then.
Check, Gopal, check 602. She sent it out at 602.
Got it. Oh.
Okay, so let me take attendance of the Finance Committee members present. Barry Smith.
Barry Smith here.
Sue Robbins.
Here.
Andy Jefferson.
Here.
Irene Houle.
Here.
Dan Kusher.
Here.
Gopal Shenoy.
Here.
Heather McHugh.
Here.
And so we're waiting. I saw you come running back in. And so we're waiting for Eric, I guess, right? Is that all that's missing?
That is correct.
Okay. And our administrative assistant, Susan Fiacco.
I am here.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing on the Grafton 2020 Fall Town Meeting warrant.
I move that we open the public hearing. Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? All right, we'll move to a roll call vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Barry?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Irene?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Gopal?
Aye.
That's everybody, right? Okay. So the first article up tonight for discussion is Article 14, which is the review of the Strong Chief article submitted by the Select Board. I see Select Board Chair Carlson is here. So Peter, I'd ask you to give us a brief overview of the article and let us know what we're trying to accomplish.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Hi, good evening. My name is Peter Carlson, Chair of the Select Board. Just wanted to review with you that the Select Board went forward with Article 14 to make specific amendments to the town charter to incorporate a strong chief provision for the town of Grafton. If some of you have been following along, there are two areas in which they needed to make adjustments to align with the strong chief provision from Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 42. And that was to amend the town charter in Section 8-5B, where the charter by deleting certain symbols and striking through as follows: Board of Fire Engineers, a fire chief, forest wardens, and other firefighters to serve for indefinite terms. In addition to amend the town general bylaws, Section 9-2, subsection C, by striking through Board of Fire Engineers, a fire chief, forest wardens, and other firefighters to serve for indefinite term. And then there was adoption of Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 42, so-called strong chief provision. For some of you who may not be aware, the reason why we need to strike these components out of the town charter and the town bylaw was that they would directly conflict with the strong chief provision, and where the Select Board would be the appointing authority for the fire chief. Did you want me to just talk about Section 14 and then we can go into Section 15, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, please do that.
Go into Article 15? I'm sorry, not 15. I'm sorry, not 15. I'm sorry, not 15. All right. So that's what those two provisions would do, is allow us to adopt Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 42.
For members of the Finance Committee that aren't familiar with a strong chief statute, can you explain exactly what that is? So that the Finance Committee members can understand exactly what that is.
So the strong chief provision is for Mass General Law to allow to set up more of an autonomous operation that works independently, where by Mass General Law, I think, let me talk about really the high level things, which it really covers. And there's some other little nuances. And if I miss those, that's my omission. That allows the fire chief to hire and appoint people to work within department for the management of fire services, the town of Grafton, and oversee all aspects of the department, from personnel, compensation, training, equipment, fire apparatus, in the buildings themselves. There might be some other little components in there, but in general, that's what the strong chief provision would do. Right now, Grafton does not work under this provision, believe it or not. We work under something called a weak chief provision, where all of that is managed through the town administrator and is basically has oversight in those areas.
So if I can ask a couple of questions, if I may. So just to understand this, though, the select board and not the town administrator will be appointing the fire chief. The fire chief will have full autonomy over the management of the department budget, appointments, promotions, all of that. But as far as day-to-day supervision of the fire chief, that should probably still stay with the town administrator as far as managing the day-to-day operations of the community. So is there anything within this provision within here that says that the fire chief will report to the town administrator? Or are you not doing that?
This warrant article doesn't call for that today. However, there are components within this Mass General Law that would allow the town to further make adjustments over time. This one right here is precisely what most other communities have adopted, almost verbatim. To your point about reporting up to the town administrator for day to day, that would be the whole point of the fire chief, as they would be the one more qualified to manage the day-to-day operations of the department. Just another component too I wanted to mention to you is that, although they would have free reign to operate and, expend the funds that town meeting allocates and votes to approve, they still have to live within those means that the town
Absolutely.
appropriates at the annual town meeting.
Okay, that answers my question. Are there any questions from members of the Finance Committee? Go, Paul.
A couple of questions. So who does this person get a review on their performance? Because it is not clear to me as to who this person reports to. We haven't decided on that yet, whether it's the town administrator or the select board. Is that what I heard?
So you're talking about this person, who the strong chief would report to for performance. There's nothing preventing the select board from doing a performance analysis, because anybody who the select board appoints or has jurisdiction to appoint can, take that up, and conduct a performance review.
Because the one thing I thought I had read is that a strong chief can only be terminated for cause, whereas weak chief is employment at will. Is that right? Which is kind of what all
That's
of
correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
I will say that in most municipalities, and Mr. Haddad, you may have some insight in this as well, is that for the removal of or termination of employment, for those situations, in almost every situation, I've always seen that there's always cause. If the select board so wishes to, let's say, terminate without cause, okay, then there's repercussions in which, that point that strong chief could use this Mass General Law, to take whatever action. And I can't speak for that, because that would be up to, that person.
The one thing that in the town that I work for, we have the strong chief, but there's another provision in the charter that says that the chief reports on a day-to-day basis for supervision to the town manager. So the town manager does have oversight over the fire chief. The fire chief still runs the department autonomously from, he doesn't need to go to the selectmen for appointments and things like that. But we may want to down the road, put some wording in, or there might be wording in another section of the bylaw that says that the town administrator would oversee as far as be the direct supervisor of the fire chief for review purposes and things like that. I do the performance review of the fire chief in Groton. So there are ways to do that, Gopal, to make sure that there is accountability.
Any reason we wouldn't want to do that now while we are amending these things? Why not make it clear and just amend it for one time?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I would agree. I would kind of think that that should be done now so that it doesn't get kind of just to make things more clear.
Yeah.
Barry, I saw you had a question.
My question relates to what you're talking about, mostly though, since I'm finance. Does the strong chief say, here's my budget, take it? Or is there some kind of review and examination?
Keep in mind, Barry, the town administrator still is responsible for the development of the operating budget.
Right.
He has to live within whatever the town administrator approves. But once that budget's approved, he has the ability to spend that, as does any other department head. The
Right.
police chief has a budget that he can spend once town meeting approves it. The fire chief would be no different.
Okay, so I just go back then to what others are talking about, and that is evaluating and guiding performance. And the article right now doesn't seem to call that out.
Well,
Irene? Oh, sorry, Peter, do you want to respond to that?
yeah, I do. And I know Ms. Roy's here as well. By the way, I just speak on behalf of myself, by the way. I don't speak on behalf of the board about what could or may happen. So first of all, the select board would have the authority under the strong chief provision to conduct that annual review and oversight of that department, okay? Very much like it would with the town administrator, and very much how the school committee does it with the superintendent of schools. And if that is what's prescribed within this charter, then there is that component that the select board could do. Now, I think what I'm hearing tonight is that, okay, if we can establish that is true here, then you're just wanting to say, well, instead of the select board do it, perhaps it should be the town administrator. Is that correct?
Only because he or she is responsible for the day-to-day administration of the town. So it makes sense that that person supervise the fire chief.
But then is he a strong chief anymore?
No, he's still a strong chief. He's still, just to explain the way it works in Groton, we have a strong chief. He manages that department. He makes all the appointments. He does everything relative to that department, but he reports to me on a daily basis, and I'm responsible for his annual, as a matter of fact, I'm doing his annual performance review right now. I'm responsible for the day-to-day operations of the community, and both the fire chief and police chief, who are strong chiefs in Groton, they both report to me on a daily basis.
If I may, I'm sorry,
ahead, Peter.
Mr. Chairman.
And
Go
then
ahead.
he would have input into the budget.
Of course.
And
He would develop the budget like
all
any
departments.
department head. Absolutely.
Okay.
Peter, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm so sorry, Ms. One thing I want to mention is that the areas in which we're striking the town charter and the town bylaws is the appointment authority. That's it. Okay. So if the town has a personnel bylaw or it has within the contents that the town administrator shall oversee or conduct reviews, then I think that's something we should take a look at to see if that is already there, Mr. Haddad. Otherwise,
I think that's a good idea.
yeah.
Irene?
Yeah, I've got two questions. The first one is I just want to clarify, you mentioned that a strong chief can only be let go for cause. Would I be correct in believing that the chief would be hired under a contract for a set number of years and that the contract would be renewed, whatever it is, every 2 years, 3 years, whatever is decided? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then follow up on that, I'm just kind of curious. Who does the performance reviews for the police chief?
I'm going to guess the town administrator does it.
Okay, does that sound correct, Peter? Has anyone ever mentioned that? Anyone know that the select board's ever done it?
The only employee that the select board conducts any performance review is only the town administrator. It doesn't do it with anybody else.
Right, okay, so it would make sense then for this person to quote, report to the town administrator the same way the police chief does. And
That's
the
what I'm
town
saying.
administrator would do the annual review. But should that person leave, retire, whatever, when it comes time to find somebody new, that now rests with the select board.
In terms of making the appointment,
Right,
the way the strong chief statute works is yes, but I would imagine that the select board would hopefully utilize the town administrator to assist in that search.
oh yeah, but it
An
would be
appointment.
their responsibility to do
Yes.
so.
Just
Yeah,
like right
okay.
now, it's their responsibility to hire and appoint a town administrator. It would be their responsibility to hire and appoint a fire chief.
Right, okay.
Ms. Roy, did you have something to add?
Yes, I was just gonna agree with what Peter was saying. And again, I'm not speaking for the board, I'm speaking for myself, but these are all excellent points you guys are bringing up about who should be doing performance reviews and ensuring that we are in fact doing performance reviews, especially with a strong chief. It is really critical to be documenting anything that may be leading to cause, right? But I don't think it's at the step in this process where we would be taking that action yet. Right now, what we're doing is we're just paving the way in the charter so that we can adopt the statute, and then the statute has wording within there to give that wiggle room of what you're trying to suggest tonight.
Peter?
Yes, if you would like, if I could share my screen, I've actually pulled up the bylaw, section 4-22, performance review.
Please do.
So this is under section 4-22, which is the personnel bylaw. In here, this is performance review. A written evaluation of each employee's performance shall be conducted annually by the department head on such form as the town administrator shall require. I think that's done right there. So to your point, I think that this bylaw right here, that the town administrator can and should conduct the performance review, to your all's point, you know, and not be the select board in this case. But I believe that this bylaw here would apply.
I think you're right. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Are there any other questions to Peter on this article? Go ahead, Dan. Oh, I'm sorry. I saw Dan first, Barry. First Dan, then Barry.
So I guess just going back to the issue of the budget, how would it differ between a strong chief and a weak chief? So town meeting, either way, town meeting approves the budget. So the town administrator puts together the budget, and town meeting approves the budget, and then that's the same either way. So what, after that point, what's different between a strong chief and a weak chief with the fire department budget?
With regards to the budget or with regards to the operation of the department?
I guess both.
With regards to the budget, it's like any other department head. It's just like the town administrator sets the budget for the Board of Library Trustees, and then once that's approved, the Board of Library Trustees administers the budget. Same thing with the fire chief. So it doesn't matter if it's a weak chief or a strong chief, that department head is still responsible for administering the budget. Where things change with a strong chief versus a weak chief, if there were to be a hiring of a firefighter or a promotion within the department under the weak chief, the town administrator would make that decision, and then the select board would have to ratify it. Under a strong chief, that solely rests with the fire chief. He makes all the hiring decisions and all the promotions and everything else within the department.
Okay, so I guess there was, I remember something from one of the select board meetings where somebody was talking about, well, what if the strong chief, suddenly decides to, hire 4 full-time firefighters out of nowhere when the town didn't really want to go full-time that quickly. So, okay, so that's not something that
Can't happen because he still
Okay.
has to operate within the appropriation of the town meeting.
Okay, so either I heard that wrong or that was just wrong. Okay.
Barry, and then Sue.
Yeah, as experienced managers, we've all gone through this exercise of doing the annual performance appraisal. Usually 11, 12 months before that, there is a statement of objectives. This is what you're going to be evaluated on, blah, blah, blah. Many companies do that programmatically. It's all online. Are there any thoughts of doing that with whoever the town administrator is going to be, to make sure that the strong fire chief has that set of objectives for what he's supposed to accomplish or she's supposed to accomplish?
Peter?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I think that question really gets into the day-to-day. I want to stick to really what the actions of this article is here, Mr. Smith, and I would agree with you. I think in good practice with any type of annual review process, personally myself, I know I report up to someone. I want to know what those objectives are that I'm going to be reviewed on. I want to make sure I'm hitting the mark, and we utilize SMART goals at our office, and how are these things measured? I think that's up to the individual TA and what style or what process that they're going to bring to the table, and that if there is anything further prescribed within an employment agreement or or a collective bargaining agreement, they're going to have to live within those means for whatever evaluation that they deploy for that individual.
That's correct. Sue?
I just wanted, for the, will the strong fire chief be following the TA's compensation plan, or will he develop his own compensation plan? For hiring?
Within the department,
Yes,
he'd have to follow whatever the personnel bylaw says unless there's a union contract.
okay.
So if there's a personnel bylaw that sets forth the salaries of the firefighters, that's what the fire chief would have to follow. If it's a union contract, he'd have to follow the union contract.
Gotcha. That's what I
Chairman?
thought. Thank you.
Yeah,
Peter?
I just would like to say that's actually covered in section 4-25 of the personnel called classification plan, supervised professional and clerical positions. Although it doesn't specifically call out the department, but I believe this is overarching.
It
The
is.
town administrator shall create and maintain a classification and compensation plan for all town employees covered by this personnel bylaw, which shall be subject to the approval of the select board.
That's correct. Are there any other questions for Peter? Go ahead, Barry.
The charter approval at town meeting, is that a 2/3 or one or half?
Believe that is a 2/3 for the amendment. And just for the rest of everyone else, then that has to go to a ballot vote for final ratifications with the election. So if I may, Mr. Chair, just to kind of
Please.
tell you that the reason why the article is written in this way is this is the prescribed way of dealing with each one of the components, and approval of Article 14 would then take the amendment of town charter and bring it to the May annual town election for the community to then vote on whether they agree to that amendment or not. So a lot of these things can't actually go into actual implementation until after the results of that election.
So if you guys wanted to, if the board wanted to touch up the bylaw in terms of reporting and reviews and all that, you have an opportunity over the next several months if this passes to do that.
Not knowing what the board's,
Springtown meeting.
yeah, Mr. Chairman, not knowing what the board's wishes are at this time, that is.
It is an opportunity is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Peter. That was an excellent presentation, and thank you for answering all our questions.
Thank you very much for hosting tonight. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe and healthy. Bye.
All right, next, we're going to move to the Community Preservation Committee for Articles 7, 8, 9, and 10. I see Mr. Stevens, Chair of the CPC, is here tonight.
Good evening.
Hi, John.
Yeah, he's out on his boat.
Yeah, not my boat, somebody else's boat.
So you want to start with Article 7?
Do you have them where you
You
can?
want to put them up on the screen? Share your screen, Sue, so John can go through the articles?
Absolutely.
Thank you very, very much.
And hopefully Ken will jump in if he hasn't gotten on yet, because there are a couple of them that he needs to go over the finer details. Okay.
Article
7.
Do you want to slide that back up? Great, go ahead.
Article 7 is to fund a program that is being managed by the Affordable Housing Trust. The total budget is $325,000. Tim had gotten $100,000 in CARES money that is restricted to affordable housing assistance. So that's the first money that will be used. Then they would use our money, the 225,000. 25,000 is for the administration of the program. I think there's like a $3,000 fee to set up the program, and then a $400 per applicant fee to process the application. And so the $25,000 is to cover the administrative costs. The $200,000 is to cover the actual rental assistance. And typically our warrant articles sunset in 2 years. This one is sunsetting in a shorter amount of time because there's a very small cushion of money that we have. And if this money gets tied up, because this money, they could come up with a project to build affordable housing that somebody gives them X $million, a private developer, but they still need, $500,000 from us. If this money is tied up, we have to either have a special town meeting or wait until May. So the program is, there's in process right now of approving applications. I think that initial deadline was the middle of September. They may have expanded that because there were just a handful of people that responded. In trying to make that money available, they may have kind of a rolling application and to see if people continue to apply. But that's the short sunset for that. Is that the purpose is to free up that money if they have a need, because they were talking about they had a lot of projects that they wanted to get done, actually developing units, and possibly at 25 Worcester Street or elsewhere in town. So we wanted to make sure that if they needed that money, that we would have access to it without a whole lot of extra town meeting action.
Excellent. Are there any questions from members of the Finance Committee? I can't see all of you, so I see Barry's hand. So Barry, go ahead.
So it looks like we'll have about $200,000 to play with for about 5 months.
What the total is 300 because they have 100 already from CARES money. So the total program actual real cost $300,000 direct aid, 25,000 to manage the program, but they've hired a private company to do that.
Gotcha.
Excellent. Any other questions on Article 7 from members of the Finance Committee?
So if you don't use this by February, this program ends.
Well, they can still have the program because they still have $100,000 of rental assistance from the CARES Act. So they have that money. I don't know the particulars on when that money has to be spent. So they could continue on with a similar program, a different program. They could change the parameters of how they do the selection. They could change the consultant, but they have that money that they still would have access to spend beyond February 28th.
Wow. It's a great use of CPC money.
And this was something Joanne's, I think somewhere, she's the one that found out about this. I don't think this was well known, and somehow she was able to ferret out this information, that because typically affordable housing money is for hard costs to actually build a unit. So this is not something you typically see, but it is a allowed use of CPC funds.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Gopal.
Irene was first, so let's, if you don't.
Go ahead, Irene. No, she's deferring to you, Gopal.
Oh, okay. No, I just wanted to know if the money doesn't get used, what happens to the money?
The money goes back to CPC, and then that makes it available. Our concern was that this money would be tied up. Okay. And if they had another project, because that was their hope or their wish, or their plan, is to actually do some real units, whether it's with a developer or with the state. But if this $225,000 is restricted to rental assistance, it would take town meeting action or the sunset to undo it. So, and given the fact that they had an early deadline on this in September, we felt like that would give them more than sufficient time to actually go through the process of reviewing applications and funding the applicants by the end of February.
Okay. Thank you.
Irene?
Actually, I do have a question at this point. So as of, let me see, this February 28th. So if somebody was to lose their job, say in December, okay, and now have urgent need, are they out of luck?
That's something you'd have to address with the Affordable Housing Trust. Again, they have $100,000 in CARES money that I don't have any idea what the restrictions are in terms of a timeline, but that is strictly to be used for rental assistance. They also have $700,000 of CPC money. Currently, the Affordable Housing Trust has that money available in their bank account that they could use today and spend all of it on rental assistance without.
They have other funds available to them to use in addition to this 200,000.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That requires no town meeting action. That's why
Gotcha.
we give them the money, do the transfer every year, so
Makes
that
sense.
they don't have to wait on us or town meeting to use it. And as long as they're following CPA guidelines and regulations, then they can do the projects. They don't need to wait for town meeting to get approval.
Okay. That's, I kind of wanted to know that because obviously, you know, I think there's glimmers of hope on the horizon, but I do think there's potential for things to get worse before they get better.
And if that's the case, they can come back again in May and do a similar program again. So
Okay.
this is their first role with this program. So they had no idea. They were assuming it would be 60 people. At this point, I think when we had a meeting last week, they had 3 people that had submitted partial applications. You have to submit a lot of financials, and then 3 people that were in the process of going to submit. So right now the numbers are about 6, but who's to know?
Once it gets out there, it could be more. Dan, I saw your hand up, and then Sue Robbins.
Yep. So yeah, I just want to say so I'm on the Affordable Housing Trust, and kind of just speaking for myself though, that relatively early sunset date, I'm personally fine with that. I think it's, when the CPC was meeting to talk about this and decided on that early sunset, we didn't know anything about how many people were going to actually apply for it. We hadn't had those numbers yet. So I was kind of thinking like, if we spend all of it, quickly, or even just before February 28th, then it was money put to good use. And if we don't spend all of it by February 28th, it just feels like we're probably not going to end up spending all of it if it lasts that long. And then if something does change late, if things suddenly get worse in January or February or March or April or May, we can go back and make another request to CPC. And if things have gotten worse, I'm sure they'll take that request very seriously. So.
And you've done a really good job. The trust has done a really good job advertising for it. So, I mean, it's been out, and which is very, very good. Sue Robbins, I saw you had your hand up earlier.
No, both of my questions were answered. Thank you.
Okay, Gopal?
Yeah, first of all, I love this program to be able to help those people who really need help in the times we live in. But I'm hearing a couple of things that makes me wonder if this money is going to be put to good use, not because of that it will not be used appropriately if allocated. There is $100,000 from CARES Act. We thought that we would get 60 people. We have got 3 right now. We think we will get 3 more, so that's 6. Even if I multiply it by 5 times, that's maybe 30 people. So I'm just trying to think what we are trying to accomplish here, because there doesn't seem to be, even if we supply the program with money, the demands doesn't seem to be there. Because we have done advertising, I've heard that we have done a good job of advertising it. In spite of all of that, maybe we will get 6 people right now. And we already have $100,000. And I also heard that the program has other sources of income. So I'm just trying to understand what we are trying to solve for here.
The trust was afraid to use the money that we had given them. That's what we preferred, was them to use, if the program cost them $300,000 in Maytown meeting, we would backfill that. And that's what we've said for quite a little while, we would backfill, because that's what we thought was a better way to spend the money, so that we're not tying any money up for any length of time. And they felt like they were on the precipice of doing a project. And so they didn't want to spend any of the money that they had currently in their fund that could be used for that purpose. So this is what it ended up to be, that we would fund the $300,000 for the program that they anticipated. And I'm not real sure, the consultant, I guess, came up with that number, how they came up with 60. They used the housing study that shows incomes and that type of data that would help them to determine how potentially what the need might be.
Yeah, plus you have a short time frame through February 28th. So if there isn't a big push, that money gets returned back to the CPC. Okay. So it's there. It has a purpose. It has a need. And if it's not used by February 28th and there isn't a demand, it gets turned back to the CPC. No harm, no foul. I think it's a good program, and I'm glad the Affordable Housing Trust and the CPC is bringing it forward. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I think it's just an important point to mention is that CPC funds can only be spent with the CPC approving the article to go to town meeting and then town meeting voting to approve it. So the money is tied up in a sense because it's allocated for this program, but it couldn't. It's also, in another sense, it's always tied up until a town meeting vote on that money. So
it's not designated to go anywhere else right now.
Right. Okay. So if we didn't approve this at town meeting in October,
just be sitting in that fund.
Right. It will be sitting there, and it will be available for a special town meeting if some emergency happened and we needed to use it for some other purpose, before May. But if we aren't spending all of it and some emergency comes up and we need that money for something else, John can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we could still do a town meeting vote to take the money out of this program and spend it on something else. Let me know if that's wrong, John.
Once the sunset hits February 28th, that money automatically will go back into the CPC. There's multiple accounts so it would go back in the account. Let's see what it says. The reserve account, because if you look at the warrant article, we have to tell you exactly which fund it's coming from. So the budgeted reserve, so that money would be available for other projects, whether they're affordable housing, historic preservation, open space, recreation. So the money would be available then.
I think that
if you wanted to call a town meeting and could turn it around that quickly, you could have a town meeting in March to do another program just on that one more article. So
thank you very much. I appreciate that, John. Any other questions on Article 7? Okay, moving on to Article 8. And Sue, I see that the Recreation Director is in the attendee. Do we want to bring her on to help talk about this? Do you want to move her up to a panelist?
This article is to replicate what the Super Park would have done, to do it at individual parks that are managed by Recreation. That's not all the parks in town, but all the parks that Jen manages would have this handicap accessible matting installed through this article.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but I know Jen is there, and I don't know Sue, can you promote her to panelist? Click on her name, invite her to speak, and then there she is. Good job. Barry, do you have any questions?
My question was about what we're actually putting down. This is the those cool mats. Does this also include paving with asphalt or anything like that?
Hi, guys.
ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Sorry, I was just listening. I was kind of surprised that I actually didn't get invited to discuss this article. But I'm happy to, so I was just listening, but I'm happy to expound. Hopefully you guys have maybe taken a look at the full proposal that I sent to CPC. I think it's pretty detailed in the breakdown of cost. There's pictures of the materials that we'll be using. The playground surfacing itself is going to involve supplementing the mulch to get it to a specific depth, and then covering it with a product called grass mats, which is a flat rubber mat, and that will cover the parts of the playgrounds that are needed to be accessed. Most of the routes to the facilities, such as batting cages, benches, the playground itself will be asphalt. There's some small places where the grass mats will be part of the route within the parks. But within that CPC proposal, you'll also see the drafted routes to the amenities. And this is all in accordance to the ADA transition plan that was conducted last year. We've been working with a consultant who has helped us get lined up with like a best fit contractor for it to provide these numbers for us. So if funding is approved on Monday night, we're ready to get started work that week.
Awesome.
Ready to roll.
That's good news. Are there any questions to Jen on this article? Thank you very much, Jen. I'm glad you were watching, and I apologize that we didn't invite you to the meeting. We should have.
No, I'm glad to be listening and answer questions. I'm hoping the town gets behind this, and we'll be covering every property under our purview anyway. We've already addressed and almost finished all of the other items in the ADA transition plan, and so this is the last piece. So we'll be fully compliant.
Andy.
Not directly budget related, but I was just curious how long we expect this to take for installation.
They have told me up to 3 weeks max.
Well, so once they start, they're going to go like gangbusters.
Gangbusters, we're ready to roll. I just need everyone to say yes. Spread the word.
Any other questions? All right, John, if we can, go ahead, go Paul.
No, I may have missed. When is the start date, Jen?
Right after town meeting, she said.
Okay, thanks.
Moving on to Article 9, John. Which is the open reserve account?
This is to correct an error that had happened at a previous town meeting, and I think Ken Holberger's our treasurer. He's on. Ken?
Ken, you have to unmute.
Muted. This is just basically an accounting thing.
9 and 10 are both accounting?
This is an accounting correction. The original warrant at that town meeting specified that the Pelt Farm Bond Fund be paid for through CPA surcharge and state match revenue that year. And unfortunately, in the town meeting process, it got changed to, and it was actually it was read and voted to come from the open space reserve, which was not correct. And so this corrects that accounting issue for that year. The money that it would have come from ended up in the it remained in the revenue account, and then it got transferred to the undesignated account at year end. And so this takes the money where it landed and put it back into the open space reserve where it belonged.
Excellent. Any questions on Article 9? It seems pretty straightforward. It looks like Article 10 is pretty straightforward. John, you want to explain that one to us?
John, you want me to take this one? I
Yeah.
don't mind.
Yeah. Go ahead.
If you don't mind, Mark.
Of course, Joanne, go ahead.
So at the October 21st, 2019 town meeting, you might remember there were 2 articles dealing with baseline reports for conservation restrictions held by the Grafton Land Trust.
I remember that.
And 2 of them were to be funded from CPA funds because CPA funds had purchased the properties. 2 were to be funded by the town because town monies had purchased the properties. CPA funds can't be used on these reports for land purchased with town monies. We originally had it as 1 article, and when it got split at the last minute at the recommendation of town council, the motion didn't get properly handled. So we had another situation similar to the open space reserve one, where what was printed in the warrant was correct, but the motion was written incorrectly. So the motion called for CPC funds to be used to pay for the baseline reports on the 2 town properties, the Weber and Mazza farm parcels. And you'll see that the article just below this one. So this one will rescind the original article, Article 11, and then the new Article 11, coincidentally, will look to appropriate and transfer from available funds the monies needed for the creation of the baseline reports.
All right, so Article 10 appropriated money incorrectly from CPA funding. And so now we're going to correct that by rescinding that vote. And then Article 11 will appropriate the necessary money to do the reports.
Correct.
Oh, that's simple. Go ahead, Barry. Thank you, Joanne. That was a good explanation.
Accounting question, Ken, should this article say if the town will just transfer from available funds, not the raise and appropriate? We don't need that language in there, do we?
The legal counsel suggests that this way is more clearly correct for the act, because the article should, did not in the warrant and should not at town meeting have specified CPC funds for the source for this money, this grant. And so this fixes that. This reverses that not legal warrant first, and then it just.
Yeah, I think what Barry's asking though, Ken, is the way the article is written. How do you want to fund this particular article? The motion will specifically say where the money will come from when we see Article 11. It'll either come from free cash or it'll come from taxation. The town administrator will have to tell us how he plans on funding it.
Yeah, the town administrator will handle that article.
Correct.
Yeah, we're not going to raise and appropriate new funds. We're just moving funds from one location to another.
No, they were rescinding the funds from CPC because they couldn't use the CPA funds to do this.
Right.
So they were rescinding that vote, and then we still have to do the baseline report. So the town administrator will have to tell us how he plans on funding this process. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joanne or Ken.
That's correct. On the town accounts, there was an obligation logged for that incorrect article, but the money was never dispersed because it was incorrect.
Just got to get it off the books.
And so this just reverses that and makes it as if it never happened. And the reservation for the funds will disappear and it'll be fine. We'll be back to where we should be.
I know just enough about municipal accounting to say, okay.
That's awesome. Any other questions on Article 10? John, Ken, Joanne, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Good information. Help us understand these articles. I think it's great. Barry, is there any public input in the Q&A or anything?
I'm watching it. I have not received any open, answered, or dismissed questions.
Thanks. Thanks, John. Thanks, Joanne. Thanks, Ken. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Article 18, which is the CIPC bylaw. And I know Ms. Roy is here to present that article to us. So Colleen, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So it's very similar to the bylaw we brought last fall that the Finance Committee supported. We did take note of some of the concerns listed last year, and we did modify it a little bit, but the heart and spirit of it is still pretty similar to last year. So I don't know what else you'd like me to say.
Are there any questions? Because I think the Finance Committee is pretty in tune with this particular article since we generated it last year. Barry?
Yeah, it says the town administrator and the superintendent are non-voting members. And
Right.
that strikes me as they're like the two biggest constituents for all of this.
So they can, so at the end of the day, this is just a recommendation. That's all this is. So they can come in and make suggestions to us, but they would not have the authority to be voting members. This is pretty much based off of a guide that we found by the state too. This isn't something we just kind of crafted on our own.
All right.
So best practice.
Does anybody have any other questions? Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so I guess at town meeting last year when this was up, it sounded like there were concerns from CPC. Have some of the changes addressed those concerns?
They have, and I actually met with CPC last week and they all feel, I hope anyway, that I'd answered all their questions. They didn't seem to have any more concerns at the end of that meeting. So what this does is just, it really helps give us a timeline on how to build a bigger, more comprehensive plan. But at the end of the day, this is just a recommendation.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Colleen. I appreciate you coming in today and helping us. Go ahead, Barry.
There are statements that you're going to collect additional capital project information, track practices. To whom will all of that information go?
So we're under the select board. So we would pretty much report to them. I mean, and we would also share that information with the town administrator and whoever wanted it. We wouldn't keep or hoard information from anybody.
Yep. Okay.
Anything else? We are 20 minutes ahead of schedule, which I love. So I want to jump ahead, if it's okay with the Finance Committee, I want to jump ahead to our articles and have the discussion on Articles 16 and 17, if that's okay with the committee.
I have a question.
Is that okay? Go ahead, Heather.
Are we, and maybe I should know this. Is there not an Article 15?
I think they just misnumbered the articles, so they just have to renumber the articles.
Okay.
I should have mentioned that at the beginning of the meeting. She
Okay.
pointed that out to me earlier.
Okay.
So Articles 16 and 17 are the two articles that the Finance Committee had previously discussed. It is to change the way the Finance Committee is appointed. The Finance Committee right now is the only appointed committee in town that doesn't go through a public process for appointment. It's done by a single individual, so there's no public input or feedback or review of those appointments. So the purpose of this article is to create a committee specifically to appoint the Finance Committee that would have to comply with the open meeting law and go through a public process. So Article 16 amends the charter for that purpose, and Article 17 amends the town bylaw for that purpose. At the beginning of the meeting, before we started, Barry asked the question if this goes for reappointments as well, and it would. So anytime there's a vacancy or a reappointment that would have to be made, it would go through the same appointment process following the committee, the tribe board. So Barry has to behave. Are there any questions on those two articles? Barry?
The last chunk of Article 16, the subject matter of all proposals to be submitted to a blah, blah, blah. That looks like the standard task of the Finance Committee.
That's out of the current, that's in the charter right now. That we didn't change that.
Do we need to include that in there?
Well, only because I was redoing the whole section. I just put the whole section back in there.
Okay, okay.
Just a matter of style of the article. Are there any other questions on that? Seeing as how we are still way ahead of time, so you can stop sharing the screen for now. What I would like to do is make use of the 15 minutes we have before Chief Crapo gets here and go back and decide whether or not we want to take positions on the articles that we've reviewed thus far, or you want to wait or get more information. I think the presenters did a great job presenting these articles to us. So if the committee is willing to discuss and take action on the articles we've reviewed so far. I'd like to do that now. Is there any objection to that?
Nope.
Okay, so let's go back to Article 14, which is the strong chief statute presented by the Select Board. Is there any?
Excuse me, Mark,
Go ahead.
do you need that on the screen or does
No,
everyone?
no, I think everybody has it in front of them.
Okay.
Are there any questions? Is there any position the Finance Committee wants to take? Are there any concerns with the article? Go ahead, Sue. I saw your hand first.
I would like to make a motion. I
Go ahead.
The Finance Committee recommend passage of Article 14 as presented.
Second
There's
that.
There's a second from Irene. Is there any discussion? Dan, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm totally clear. It's the only real difference is that is in terms of hiring within the department. It's that the strong chief would be the sole person who makes those decisions, and a weak chief would not actually be part of that decision. It would be the town administrator.
Well, yeah, under the way it would work now is the fire chief would probably make a recommendation to the town administrator, who would then make the appointment and
Got
so
it.
on and so forth. And also, once appointed a strong chief, you're a strong chief until you're no longer serving in that role. So it's to terminate for cause. That is a very strong provision in there. It's no longer an at-will employee. There are strong protections in there, and you kind of want to have those types of protections so that the chief can go about managing his department without any influence, which you kind of want to have. So I like that. Barry, go ahead.
Let me follow up with Dan. I thought I understood. The strong chief hires his own staff.
Correct.
He does not have to, I would think he would review it with the town administrator, but he doesn't have to get the town administrator's approval.
That is correct.
Okay,
I would, if you have I have a very strong working relationship with my fire chief, who's a strong chief. And we talk daily, constantly. If there's a hiring decision or appointment, he works with me when he goes through a process for a promotion. Our HR director participates in the process. So you get the right chief in there, it'll be seamless and it'll work really, really well for the town. Go ahead, Sue.
This article is just dealing with the Select Board being the appointing authority.
It
So-
adopts the statute. It adopts the statute that
Right.
creates the strong chief.
Right.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of supporting, approving the motion as presented by Sue, please signify by saying aye by roll call. Barry?
aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Gopal?
Aye.
Irene? And Mark says aye. So that is unanimous. Sue, can I ask you to write the Finance Committee's position on that? Do you mind? Sue Robbins?
I could do that.
I appreciate that. Moving on, since we're on the same page there, moving on to Article 16. Is there any position the Finance Committee wants to take on Article 16? Sue?
Recommend passage of Article 16 as presented, or 15, or whatever it's supposed to be.
You guys miss me making all the motions now, don't you?
Yeah.
Motion made by Sue. Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Barry. Is there any further discussion?
I-
All those, go ahead, Dan.
I just want to say the chair not making motions is just a convention. There's no rule against that.
I understand. I do understand. That's true. That's very true. I'd never stop talking, Dan, though. Go ahead, Sue.
I like both of these articles, and I'm glad that they've been brought forward because this allows a more transparency in our appointing. And it also, other committees get to be part of the appointing authority when there's a vacancy, the planning board, the Board of Health, the school committee. And I think it's only fair that the Finance Committee be given that same opportunity. And it allows us to see who the who's applied, I can't say that very
Yep.
well. And it also gives us an opportunity to know what questions are being asked of these people. So
I agree.
really support this.
Sue, are you hinting that you didn't get that chance to grill me?
Well, you know, it is kind of odd that Gopal got appointed and now we want to change the appointing process.
I just stuck in, and now the finance committee said, that's it.
No,
but remember-
Gopal, it's not you. It's not you. It's Andy. Okay.
Definitely Andy. We were very concerned about that appointment. So.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor by roll call signify by saying aye. Barry,
I,
Sue,
Hi.
Andy,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
and Mark is aye. And I will write the finance committee's recommendation for that article, if it's all right with you guys. Moving on to Article 17, is there any discussion or is there a motion to approve?
I move that we recommend passage of Article 17 as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Irene seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay,
just
oh,
to be
go ahead,
clear,
Barry.
this is, what is this? We're,
This amends the bylaw. You have to amend it in
Amends the
two
bylaw, yeah.
places.
Do both.
Yeah, you have to amend the charter and the bylaw.
gotcha.
Any other questions? All those in favor by roll call signify by saying aye. Barry,
I,
Sue,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Irene. Is that an aye? Yep. And Mark is aye. And so unanimously passes. And I'll write the recommendation from the Finance Committee for both of these articles. Moving back to Article 7.
You want to go to 18?
Oh, yeah, let's go to 18 while we're there. Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Capital Improvement Planning Committee bylaw. Is there any discussion? Go ahead, Sue.
I move that we recommend passage of Article 18 as presented.
Second.
Second by Gopal. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye by roll call. Barry? Oh, Barry had a question. Hold on. Sorry, Barry.
I'm stumbling over the fact that the TA and superintendent don't have a vote on these things. I know they're gonna put them in their budgets, they hope, but
How the process is set up is that the town administrator will meet with his department heads and he will come up with a capital plan. He will pass that on to us. We will prioritize and we will look at it. We'll bring it back to the TA and we will have a discussion. Hopefully that we all agree 100%. If we don't, we will come to some kind of agreement. And we're just an advisory committee, so he is the final say.
okay.
He'd be voting for himself.
And this bylaw still supports the administrator's role as specified in the town charter, so nothing changes there.
Okay,
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye by roll call. Barry?
Dan had
Oh,
Dan had
go ahead.
something to say.
Oh, sorry, Dan, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
I just want to say I kind of like that the town administrator and superintendent are not are non-voting members. Just I think it makes more sense to keep it to the volunteer appointed committee members. That's all.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Okay, by roll call, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Barry,
I,
Sue,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
oh,
Mark,
so-
aye. So it's unanimous. Who wants to write this
I've
recommendation?
already written it.
Then the recommendation is
I've
written.
already written the recommendation. Would you
Thank
like
you.
to hear it?
I think I know what it is.
The Finance Committee believes that this bylaw will add valuable structure, consistency, and prioritization to the town's long-term capital planning process while supporting the town administrator's role as specified by the town charter. This bylaw will also provide increased visibility and a comprehensive view of all of the town's capital projects.
Outstanding. That's really good. That's really good.
that is good. So why don't you write all the rest of them?
Yeah,
I see the chief. I see the chief is connecting, so we will come back to the other articles. Chief, welcome. Nice to have
Oh.
you tonight.
Can you hear me all right?
Absolutely. So you are here to present Article 20 to us, which is, of course, for a cruiser or two.
Okay, let me just adjust my volume here if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I think the president is waving from that building.
I thought the chief was the president. Now he's at the White House.
Well, now that we've got that straight.
Now we know who the real president is, huh, Norm?
President Biden.
Go ahead, Chief.
Okay. Let's see here. All right, well, you have, I don't know if you got my request to the town administrator's office on this.
We haven't seen your specific request. We did meet with the town administrator a couple of weeks ago, and he indicated that since this wasn't funded in the spring, you wanted to bring it back in the fall because, you know, maintenance will increase and there'll be a problem if we don't start replacing these cruisers. So that's what he said to us, but we'd like to hear from you.
That's correct. Basically, what happened is we put it in the budget for FY21, and we do have a fleet management plan where we try to replace 2 cruisers every year. This way here, the cars have some trade-in value when they get traded in. And, you know, we try to maintain it as best we can. We try to get rid of the cars before they're off warranty, which is a big help. Because as you realize now, the newer cars, very expensive to repair, especially when the electronics starts to go. So we did not get any funding for FY21. And, you know, I guess we're going to live with that. However, we just recently learned that one of our cruisers, it's actually the supervisor's cruiser, has an electrical problem. And in order to fix this problem, we're talking about about $5,400 worth of repairs, which a car with this amount of mileage, this amount of engine hours, and you know, its use, it would be kind of counterproductive to repair this vehicle. So after we got the override, I figured I'd put in a request for a new vehicle, if possible 2, but at least this one here we'd like to replace if we could.
Has the town administrator made a decision on how many he's going to be recommending in this article, Chief?
I
One or
believe
two?
you mentioned 1.
One, okay. If you had your way, it'd be 2.
If possible, yes. Like I said, this maintaining, you know, our fleet management program. For those of you that have been on the finance committee before, I think you should have gotten copies of my, I know Sue, a few of you, but you know, we're not only looking at miles on a vehicle or the years on a vehicle, we're also looking at the engine hours, which has an effect on the wear and tear of a vehicle. Since you don't have it, let me just, I'll note, the vehicle that we want to replace is a 2017, which that would have probably been replaced. Well, I would have replaced it this year under normal budgeting, but it's been experiencing the electrical problems, and it has 70,000 miles on about almost, well, now it's got more than that. When I wrote this was on September 3rd, probably closer to maybe 74,000 miles on it. It had 9,000 engine hours based on industry standards through fleet, you know, periodicals and whatnot. This would be equivalent to 219,000 on the motor vehicle. So, you know, that's a lot of wear, because you have to remember, it's not only the driving miles, but it's also the time it's spent idling. And by fleet industry standards, they predict that the every hour of idle time on a vehicle is the equivalent of 33 miles.
That makes sense. What's the next, if you could replace 2 vehicles this year, what's the next oldest vehicle or newest or whatever that in the miles on that?
It would be a 2016 Interceptor, which is, we go with the Explorers and the, you know, police line, they call them Interceptors. That one there has an actual 99,000, so probably over 100,000 right now. It had 99,700 miles on it with over 12,000 engine hours, which is the equivalent of 297,000 1,000 miles.
And the only reason you're replacing the 2017 is because of the 5400 electrical. Otherwise, this would have been the one to go.
That's correct.
So
Go ahead, Sue.
I just wanted to know if you had a cost for the vehicle, Norm.
Yes, I get estimates, and this is through the state bid list. We use, actually, it's we have state, we use the Plymouth County bid system. I don't know if you've heard of that. And that's
We use that in Groton.
and also the Boston Police Council. So we use three, so I try to get the best prices. This is one of the estimates for the vehicle itself.
Yep.
Okay, and these are all-wheel drive vehicles that we've been going into. So the vehicle price for this, and bear in mind, now this is a 2020, which brings about a whole new realm of issues because the 2019s and prior Explorers were able to fit all our equipment in. The 2020s and beyond now, we have to get all new equipment for these. So the price for the vehicle is $33,790. When I first came here, I think we were spending $26,000 on the Crown Victorias.
Yeah.
You know, so they've gone up. And that's for everything. And also for the new equipment, now we're talking lights, we're talking consoles, we're talking cages. Let's see, other equipment that needs to fit in there, special lights in the corners, you know, corner strobes or corner LEDs for the type of headlights that they use. For the upfit for that is $11,000.
So we're talking 45,000 approximately per vehicle.
Yes.
So you could get two vehicles for 90 grand?
Yes.
Go, Paul.
I thought I heard 83,000 for one.
No.
Did I hear- How much was it? Sorry.
For a vehicle completely upfitted, and like I said, we can't transfer the old equipment, we have to put new equipment, is 45,000.
45,000.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I
So you
got-
probably heard 88 for two,
Two.
Go, Paul.
Yeah.
That's
The
probably
only
what you
thing
heard.
I can say is, and this was in my original request for the, under the FY21 budget, is I believe it's, if you added another 4,000, we get hybrids. But I've been talking to people, and the hybrids, you know, pot electric, pot gas and all that. I don't think we'd get our money back on that. So I don't think it'd be worth it. Just to let you know, I did quote the hybrid vehicles about.
The hybrid's what, $10,000 more?
I'm sorry?
The hybrid is $10,000
No,
more?
about
$4,000 more, okay.
Yeah, I think, Chief, I agree with you in the sense that I've had a hybrid. You'd buy a hybrid more for your environmental concern and not to save money
Right.
because you will never break.
That would probably be good for an admin sedan, something like mine, a lieutenant or whatever. But for a cruiser, I don't think, it'd be a good investment of money, because especially if we're trying to get, turn them over every 3 or 4 years.
Plus, I don't know if you will sacrifice for the power it would give you because it's a hybrid as opposed to really, if you really want to go fast, I'm not sure. I think you may.
No, I don't want them going fast. Actually, it's just the opposite. That I was told, I've never driven one, and we never taken one out for a demo. I was told the hybrids are actually faster.
That's 100% true, Chief. We got them up in Groton this year. We
Is
got
that
two
right?
hybrids, and they are very quick.
Yeah, yeah.
They're very quick, yeah.
We get places quick enough. I don't need them to go faster. I don't need a vehicle that can travel 100 miles an hour, because we're not going anywhere that
Not
fast.
on our roads.
Yeah.
Not on our roads. I gotta say, Chief, and then I'll go to Barry. If you don't replace that 99,000 vehicle this year, it's gonna have 110 by the time you get to town meeting, maybe 120 by the time you get to town meeting next spring. And you're gonna probably need to fund 3 cruises next year, because I'm sure the 2018s will be up near the 75, 85, 90,000 mile range by the time you get to town meeting. And this is just gonna set you back another year, which I don't think is a good idea. So the town administrator is coming in tomorrow night. I'd like the finance committee to talk to him and figure out a way to replace 2 of those cruises this year. I agree with the chief 100%. If you don't maintain the fleet management program, it's just your maintenance costs are gonna go through the roof. And we're gonna have such an old fleet, and we're gonna be doing reserve fund transfers and everything else to try to fund these things down the road. So if it's okay with the finance committee, I'd like to talk to the town administrator tomorrow night, see if we can get 2. So Sue, and then Barry.
and that was always the reason why when the chief first moved out here, that we insisted that even before that, that the replacement vehicles always were in the operating budget. And we wanted them there specifically for that reason. And then gradually one was taken out and then another one was taken out. And so I'd really like to see those replaced. I would like to see those go back into the operating budget so we don't have this problem anymore.
I agree with you. Barry?
Does the DPW do the maintenance or just basic maintenance on these?
Yeah, DPW does the maintenance, and when we have a warranty issue, which we've had a few, even the new 2020s, it's nice that, we buy the warranties and we send them out to.
Oh, the chief froze.
What are you doing? Playing with your ball?
You back, chief? There you are.
I'm sorry?
No, you froze up as you were talking.
Oh, I'm okay. Hold on just 1 second. I just want to. Okay. I don't know what part you got, but yeah, we do send it to highway. The only thing we couldn't do with the highway is like rotation. Well, first of all, let me go back. We do the work that's, the basic stuff, although Doug does a terrific job, Doug and Matt. But any warranty work is done, through them, through the garages that we deal with, Pace and then MHQ. MHQ moved now to Webster. They used to be in Marlboro. So, they take the vehicles up there. And one thing we're going to be doing more of now is once the new highway bond is occupied and they have the equipment set up, one thing we never really did much except for the admin vehicles is rotate the tires. The tires should be rotated with maybe every second oil change. Or I should say now every oil change, because a few years ago, we switched to synthetic oil. So we're saving money on oil, for what that's worth, rather than.
You go what, every 8,000 miles? You
Yeah,
go every
so
8,000 miles to change?
miles.
Yeah.
So, and then we can rotate the tires, which will save us on tires, because we do go through tires every year on those vehicles, but we get a lot out of the highway department, and with their new facility, it's going to be great.
Awesome.
Okay.
Sue?
Uh,
Yako?
Thank you. May I please ask the chief, what are you going to do with your old equipment now that they don't fit the new vehicles?
The old, you mean the lights and siren and stuff?
Yes.
More likely, we're going to auction that off unless we can get a trade when we bring it in.
Sue, are you looking to outfit your car? Is that?
Yes.
Flashing lights.
Yes.
And that's
Drive the mass.
you think about it. You're paying $3,000 for $33,000 for a vehicle, and it's $11,000 to upfit.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I know. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's like I said, when I first came here, we were paying $26,000 for a cruiser, and that was with equipment.
Yeah.
Now it's crazy. But the all-wheel drive is what is the kicker on that. That's that's a $4,000 option, and actually it's not an option anymore after 2 years ago.
It's a standard equipment.
Standard, yeah. And plus they got rid of the Tauruses now, so you can't buy those. And you have your choice. Like a Chevy Tahoes are nice. Some departments are using those. That's about maybe $5,000 more, but they're way too big. We don't need anything that big. And Dodge just put something out there, and the verdict's out on that yet. But I like the Fords, I like the Explorers, and we get pretty good service out of them. But every now and again,
Things happen.
electrical problem that we haven't really had a problem like that, but we need to deal with it one way or another.
All right, so go ahead, Gopal. And
No,
then
I
Irene.
think Irene has been waiting. She has been
Oh, I'm sorry, Irene, go ahead.
Just two things. I want to just repeat kind of for the record and for people listening what Sue said earlier. I can remember from my first year on the Finance Committee 3 years ago that we were talking about that this needs to be in the operating budget every year. And that advice and known best practice, we don't make this stuff up, was ignored. So again, I just want to kind of make that clear. Also, specifically for our newer Finance Committee members, I do know that I had a question that the chief handled beautifully when I had it 3 years ago. Like, gee, seems like we have an awful lot of cruisers, quote, sitting around. And the explanation he gave for that was fantastic, because it wasn't something I had ever thought about. You know how we use our cars, right? You know, we use them, and when we need them, we go out and we use them, and we just keep using them. And if I come home and, you know, my son needs it, he gets in it and he uses it. Well, that's great for the family car. That doesn't work so great for police cars. So I don't know if you just want to kind of address that, why it seems like we have, quote, extra cars, why they're not in fact extra. It's probably worth people hearing again.
Well, once again, we have the amount of cars. When I first came here, we had 3 marked cars. We had 2 older Ford Explorers. If we use them 24 hours a day, you know, we kept the fleet down and we use them 24 hours a day, they wouldn't last that long. The way we have it now, we have no more than 3 officers assigned to a cruiser. And one of them, of course, is the canine officer, which that's a take-home car because he has to have that car for his canine all the time. So that car is out of the mix. But the other cruisers, as I mentioned before, we have those so that we can rotate constantly. Otherwise, if they were on the road, some departments, they have them and they use them one shift after another. And if you didn't have enough, that goes out of service. Now you don't have a car. Now you have to double up an officer. And we've done that in the past. Fortunately, when I started the fleet management program, we haven't had that issue. And, you know, I can't say you can never have enough, but when we have storms, when we had storms recently, you need those cars on the road, because if you only have 5 cars and say one's out of service or one's being used, you know, like the canine officer, which that's his vehicle, we can't give it to somebody else because it doesn't hold prisoners, it holds our dog, you know. So it's, and by the way, Zeta, I don't know if you've seen her yet, but anyways, it's you have to have that availability, or you can play it, you know, close to the vest and say, hey, you know, we've got 4 cars on the road and you use them 24 hours a day and roll the dice. And I don't want to do that, especially as I mentioned before, we have storms and whatnot. You need those to block the roads. You need those to respond to calls. And we can't ask officers to use their private vehicles to be blocking roads and stuff like that. Before we got 4-wheel drive vehicles, or before we got enough 4-wheel drive vehicles, I was using, during a winter storm, my own personal vehicle with a blue light on it if we had to go someplace, because we didn't have that many 4-wheel drive vehicles. And that's why I was trying to step it up and have a fleet that's, you know, that's going to be safe for the officers and responsive for the town.
Go ahead, go Paul.
Chief, I'm a new member of the finance committee, so I'll probably ask you a basic question. How much warranty do we buy on these vehicles? Is it standard, or is there an option that we buy for extended warranty? And I'm asking only because 70,000 on a new car means agreed, I can't compare it to like my car. Sounds very low given the technology that goes into these cars. And to have a repair of $5,400 means if it was my car, I would be alarmed. So I'm just asking, do we have options to buy extended warranties? Do we already do that? Would it be cheaper?
We get the 3-year warranties, and they used to have a longer warranty. The only problem is, in this case here, it wasn't covered under warranty. The electrical system, I couldn't explain it. I looked at all our paperwork. I talked to several different dealers, and actually I talked to somebody in the insurance industry, my daughter, and she told me right off the bat, it's not, the electrical system wasn't covered in the warranty, so this wouldn't have helped anyways. So, but we get the 3-year warranties, and they used to have the 5, and those are another, probably at about over $2,000 now for something like that, which we could do, but do we want to keep them for 5 years, you know? Yeah. And you got to remember too that the warranties are always, well, yeah, but we don't cover this. It'll cover drivetrain, powertrain, but it won't cover the rocker arms, which have to be replaced a lot in cruisers because, you know, they hit curves or whatever, or they hit potholes at night when they're driving or something like that, or rear ends and stuff like that. So that extra warranty a lot of time covers just the drivetrain, powertrain, and whatnot. It doesn't cover the air conditioning, naturally doesn't cover brakes. You know, we go through
Yeah.
brakes. So
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anything else? Go ahead, Andy.
Just a question because of the way the article is written now with one car. Chief, what's your level of concern if we're only able to replace the one cruiser with the older 2016 Interceptor and you know, the condition that it's currently in, or what expenses it may incur in the next year or so?
Well, it's, like I said, it's something that we live with. We just put the repairs into that vehicle, which eats up the budget fairly quickly. You know, my thing was, and I mentioned it to Sue when we met before the FY21, as if we don't get the cars, then we need more money in our, because I've really never raised the budget that much for car repairs for our vehicle equipment. That's the line it's under. So if we don't get cars, then we need to add more money for repairs. Like I said, and Doug and Matt do a great job with DPW repairing our cars, maintaining the cars. But there are some things, especially nowadays, that they just can't do. So,
Has this warrant been posted yet? So,
Yep.
so there is a chance that if we meet with the town administrator tomorrow night and we twist his arm and convince him to make this 2, he can amend this article and make it 2, correct?
This warrant has been approved.
The
by
select board
board.
can change it though, right? Before you post it.
I don't know the answer to that.
I'm gonna answer it for you. Yes, they can. So,
Okay.
I'm gonna, Chief, we'll ask the town administrator tomorrow night. If he's willing to do it, we'll support that. Go, Paul.
Chief, I was just thinking in case means we hit a wall and we can't find the cost for two cruisers. Would it make sense for you to replace the 2016 because it's older and we find a smaller amount, which is, let's say, somewhere between $5,000 to $10,000, which covers the cost of repair for the 2017? Would that make sense? Long term, we are going to spend more money, but I'm just trying to see if there is a way to tackle it in the current budget in case there's not enough money for 2 cruisers.
Do we
Go ahead.
really want to spend $5,400 in a vehicle that has 219,000 miles when you take into consideration engine idle time and spend $5,400 in a car that we probably will get rid of 5 months from now when we give the chief a car for next year? It doesn't make sense, go, Paul.
Mark,
Chief, I don't mean to speak for you.
Mark, I agree. I'm just asking for options
Okay.
in case the town administrator says no way for 2.
that, if I may, that would be the only thing. We would probably get rid of it if for the, you know, under FY22,
Okay.
that would be going. So to spend 5,000 plus 5,400, I should say, then that's money. I mean, and I'm hoping that we can get on the vehicles. I estimate probably about $4,000 to $5,000 trade-in on these vehicles. So if we put $5,000 into it, and next fiscal year we get rid of it, we would put more in that we could possibly get back in a trade-in. So,
Got it.
Any other questions for the chief? Chief, thanks. I'm sure the town administrator will be in touch with you. Go ahead, chief.
may I just ask if
Please.
you guys weren't waiting for me, were you? Because I thought I was on at 8:15.
No, but we had other business to do, so it worked out perfectly. We
Okay, I
buzzed
just
through
want to
some
make
other
sure.
stuff, and it'll end our meeting earlier now, so thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, chief. Talk to you
Bye.
later.
Bye-bye now.
I see Paul is here, so Paul, we're gonna move on to the next 2 articles, which you're here to talk to us about, and that's Article 6 and Article 13. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Good evening.
And Sue, if you want to put it up on the screen, we'll let Paul walk us through those 2 articles.
Sorry to make you dizzy here for a second. We're starting with 6, correct, Paul?
Yes,
Whatever you guys want, either way.
the sewer receipts.
Mhm.
You buzzed by it, Sue.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. The old eyes. There we go.
Go ahead, Paul.
All right, actually, that one, I'm not even sure on that one. I had put 3 other articles on food department related that probably got pulled off because the retained earnings weren't going to be certified in time.
Oh, so this one came from the town administrator.
Yeah.
All right, well then, we're gonna
Right,
skip
so-
over that one. We'll wait for that one tomorrow night. We'll jump up to Article 13, which is the tree removal replacement account article.
Yeah.
So so the other 2 articles will have to come up in the spring?
Yeah, it's not a. I have no idea what, what that one was, and the other 3, yeah, because retained earnings won't be certified, so it's, we have the funds available in the accounts, it's just trying to replenish those accounts, so we'll be fine.
Understood.
Do you
All right,
want
so
to,
then we'll jump up to Article 13.
okay,
So Article 13, when we were doing the budget last winter before COVID, we were trying to, through the town administrator, we were trying to make some cuts to balance the budget. There was $87,000 left in a warrant article. And we had submitted for $75,000 as part of a traditional O&M article, which we had for, several years prior. In the balancing of the budget, we agreed to remove the $75,000 and with the hope that the $87,000 from the warrant article would sustain us through this fiscal year. With no leaves on the trees when we were doing the budget, it was tough to tell what the dead trees would look like. As they started to leaf out, it was obvious that a lot of them weren't going to come back. And then the drought from this summer just exacerbated that problem. So I put a request in to get the $75,000 back, try to reduce that to 50. And
So have you already spent the 87,000 that was left over?
at the end of October, we'll have about $9,000 left from that 87,000.
Okay, so this 50,000 will get you through the winter to take care of some of the worst trees that are out there?
It'll get rid of the obvious trees during the winter months and then, hopefully just hanging on to a bit as residents report dead trees fall on their house, we can take care of those immediately.
What does it cost per removal per tree? Does it depend on the size? That's probably. a
Yeah,
dumb
it's all the
question I just
size.
asked. Yeah.
It's all the giant oaks that are dying. There's not, the real small ones didn't seem to die, but it's the 36, 48 inch oak trees that are all on the wires that are in the travel lane. So it takes a long time to cut them down. You go to, even though we have a detail there, you have to stop the cars, let the cars go before you can drop the pieces. It's just a time consuming task.
All right, so this 50,000 will really be well spent getting
Yeah.
us through the winter month of next year. So going into next year's budget, what would your request be for fiscal 22? 75?
At least the 75, which was what we had. We had spent $50,000 to $75,000 a year every year, unlike a lot of communities, on tree removal. So we were in good shape when the gypsy moths and the drought hit. But it just, like I say, we had a lot of bigger dead trees. The cost was a lot more than any one of us would have ever thought.
Understood.
It'll at least be 75, and I would probably put in for 100 because this warrant article will be gone by then as well.
Understood. Any questions for Paul? Go ahead, Paul.
Mark, where did you see the 50,000?
The article doesn't have the money, but we know from what Paul's telling us that that's going to be when the motion is written to go before town meeting, it'll say 50,000.
Okay, got it.
Any other questions for Paul? Go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this one goes. 50, 75 a year is enough as various old trees age out and come down. And that's enough to keep us going? Or do you think we're confronting a tsunami of trees coming down and we should be looking at budgeting a whole lot more?
It had traditionally kept us going, Barry, for years. It was 50, then we went up to 75 just because of inflation and everything else. But we were doing, we were maintaining at that dollar figure. So I think it's, once we get rid of the gypsy moth dead trees, which are, we're still fighting with, hopefully the 75 will maintain for several years until inflation takes over again.
Okay.
Any other questions for Paul? Thank you, sir. That was very helpful and very quick.
Right. Thank you for
I
having me.
appreciate it. All right,
Alrighty.
thank you very much.
Good night.
All right, so, Sue, if you want to stop sharing the screen, we
Yes,
can
sir.
go back to, we already took care of our articles, so we can go back to the CPA articles to see if you want to take positions on those. So going to Article number 7, which is the $225,000 for the Affordable Housing Trust Rental Assistance Program. Any position the Finance Committee wants to take on that? Any questions? Sue,
I move that we recommend passage of Article 7 as presented.
is there a second? Okay, is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify
Mark,
by saying,
Mark,
go ahead.
just point of order.
Yes, go ahead,
We
Irene.
had already passed Article 7. And
We did.
Susan is going to write it.
Did we already do 7?
No.
Yes.
No,
No, we didn't.
I didn't think we did.
I have it on my
17?
notes.
All right.
No, you're thinking about the capital commit, the capital.
Yeah, we
planning
did
committee.
16, 17, and 18, but for some reason, I remember being surprised we did Article 7. I thought we were going to do Article 8 next, but we didn't. We jumped to, Article 16 and 17.
Mark
No.
asked me to write Article 14.
Okay, I had it written down that we had passed it, so I apologize. I just thought we already had done it.
No,
Well, we're gonna do it again, even if we did.
Okay,
How's that?
just in case, right? Okay.
We're so supportive of this article, we're gonna do it twice.
We're passing it twice.
We are. So any further discussion? By roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Sue,
aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Mark, aye, that's unanimous. Who wants to write this one? Dan will write it. Thank you, Dan. Article 8, accessible parks and playgrounds. Are there any questions, or does the Finance Committee want to take a position?
That we pass Article 8 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Barry. Any further discussion? All those, oh, Sue, discussion?
yes, please. I just want to let you know that I had asked CPC if we should invite anyone else, and they gave me the list of people to invite.
Sue, nobody's holding you responsible for that.
I
was just
know,
being- I was just
But
being
I just
political and
wanted you to
pleasant.
know.
Oh, I appreciate that. You do a great job scheduling these meetings. Any further discussion? Barry? All those in favor, Barry,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Mark, aye. Who wants to write this one?
I'll write this one.
All right, thank you, Irene. Article 9, which is the housekeeping article, I believe. I lost my place on papers.
Yeah.
Is that the housekeeping one? So we
Yeah.
send the vote to get
Yeah,
done?
it's to,
Okay.
yeah, they took it out of the wrong account.
Wrong account. Is there any position or discussion the Finance Committee wants to take on this one?
That I move that we recommend passage of Article 9 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor by roll call, Barry?
Aye.
Oh, Heather, go ahead. Did you have a
I was gonna
question?
say, I'll write 9, 10, and 11.
Oh, great. Heather, we'll go to you to vote now too.
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Gopal?
Aye.
Irene? Irene froze?
Nope, she
No,
said
aye.
aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. I didn't hear it. And then Mark, aye. Article 10, rescind the article from a prior year. That's the baseline reports, the CPC monies, or anybody want to take a position on that one?
Recommend that the finance, I move that the Finance Committee recommend passage of Article 10 as presented.
For a
Second.
second. Second, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Barry?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Gopal?
Aye.
Irene?
Aye.
Mark, aye, that's unanimous. Moving up to, Article 11, I know that we understand that, the CPC explained what that is. The town administrator will come in tomorrow night and tell us from what account he wants to take that money out of, so we'll wait till we hear from him tomorrow night on taking that position, if that's okay with the FinCom?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, okay. So let's move ahead to Article 13, which is $50,000 for the long-range tree removal replacement account. Are there any positions or recommendations the Finance Committee wants to make on that one?
I move that I move to recommend that the Finance Committee accept the warrant as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any
Did I
further
say
dis-
right?
oh, any further discussion?
You were
Gopal?
fine, Gopal.
Sue?
In the amount of, please.
50,000.
Mhm.
You take that friendly amendment, Gopal? $50,000? In the amount of 50,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who seconded that?
I did, so I
Thank
meant
you.
sign.
Thank you, Sue. Any
Yeah.
further discussion? Okay, all those in favor by roll, oh, go ahead, Dan.
So I just want to make sure I understand this one correctly too. We cut out the money from the operating budget in, well, not May, in June. And we're adding it back now because we need it. But where's, I guess so it doesn't say where the money's coming from, but is it, it feels like we're, with this and with the police cruisers, there are things that we cut out and now we're like, oh, but we really need that. Like
I
we
think-
didn't know
I thought
back
the
in
town
June,
adminis-
but we knew. And
Mhm.
now,
I think because of the override, now they kind of are doing a little housekeeping.
yeah,
I think
but
the town
we have
administrator
to-
said, I'm sorry, Dan, I think the town administrator said free cash on these, not taxation.
Wasn't he like trying to cut, wasn't he trying to keep into like I think this number might be like, I don't know where I'm finding it, but 365, like, wasn't he trying to like stay within some parameter of that? Am I
And new
right?
growth came in higher than originally
Okay.
estimated too, so he has some extra money there as well.
Yeah.
260.
265, I knew it was, I couldn't remember the exact
Yeah,
figure.
263.
New growth, and then 102 from fire.
Oh, so it was
Fire
365,
article.
okay. See, I do pay attention.
You do, Heather. Nobody ever doubted that.
that 100 and something from fire, that was the warrant article, right?
Correct.
Okay. So it's that money and the additional new growth is, okay.
That's what he was trying to say. He said he wanted to try to fit all of these additional costs into that
Correct.
figure.
That's
Okay.
correct. Harry?
Ultimately, with all of these raise and appropriate and transfer of funds issues, we would like to see what now the total budget looks like.
And he's gonna have that for us as best he can tomorrow night. I will tell you, I met with him last week, I think I met with him, or the week before. And he is holding to the amount of money that the town meeting voted to use out of the override for fiscal year 21. He's not dipping into the remaining money. So
Right.
we voted 864,000 out of that 3.2 in the contingent budget. And that's what he's holding to. So anything that's being done here will stay within that appropriation. It will stay within the levy, but he has the extra money from new growth that wasn't anticipated. Plus now that 102,000 that the town meeting appropriated out of free cash for fire equipment is actually in the operating budget now. So he has that money available too. So I'm sure he's doing a shell game right now, and hopefully he can explain that to us tomorrow night. Does that make sense, Dan? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I looking forward to the more detailed explanation tomorrow night. But yeah, that's good for me for now.
We'll have a kabuki dance with the town administrator tomorrow night. It's always fun to do that. Okay, anything else on this? All right, all those in favor by roll call signify by saying aye. Barry?
Aye.
Sue?
Aye.
Andy?
Aye.
Heather?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Gopal?
Aye.
Irene?
Aye.
Mark? Aye, unanimous. And who wants to write this one? Not all at once.
Volunteer.
All
I'll
right, Irene.
volunteer.
Thank you, Irene.
I would love to help, but I have no idea how to write these. So next time.
Okay, that's fine, Gopal.
Now, you and Andy are off the hook.
May.
So,
And
so-
come May, you've got it right.
so
I
with
don't want
regard to,
I don't want these things to fail because of the way I wrote.
so with regard to the police cruiser, we decided to hold off on that one until we meet with the town administrator tomorrow night, correct?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
All right, so what is
Okay.
left on the agenda is an update from Sue on the,
Mark,
yeah,
and
go ahead.
hey, Article 4, he's passing over, so can we just go ahead and vote on?
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead, make a
I
motion.
always don't know how to make this motion when it's going to be passed over. Finance Committee recommends
Pass over Article 4.
opposes passage of this article.
As we understand, it'll be passed over.
Yep.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Oh, go ahead, Dan.
I think we had been talking about doing it the other way, recommending passing over.
I think that's what we decided
Just to,
last
like,
year.
be consistent with the terminology that the select board will use during town meeting.
So
All
do
right,
we want
I'll
to,
withdraw my motion.
all right, so do we want to make a motion? Will somebody make a motion that says we move to recommend the passing over of Article 4?
You
So-
just did.
Okay.
So moved.
Okay, so moved. Is it a second? Okay, all those in favor by roll call, Barry?
Aye.
Oh, go ahead, go Paul.
I have no idea what we are voting on.
You have an article on the warrant. On Article 4 is an article that won't be needed. It's a housekeeping article that's put on every year in the event that it's needed. It's not going to be needed. So what happens is town meeting will move to indefinitely postpone consideration of that article. So our motion now is to support the indefinite postponement of that article. Does that make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor by roll call, Barry,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
go Paul,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Mark, aye. Sue Fiacca, you usually write those recommendations for us. You mind handling that one? Thank you. Okay, so I would ask for a motion to continue the public hearing of the Finance Committee on the articles on the October 19, 2020 town meeting to tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Can I have that motion?
Moved.
Is there a
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye by roll call. Barry,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
go Paul,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
and Mark, aye. Two quick topics before we adjourn the meeting, if that's okay with the Finance Committee. Sue, you want to give us an update on the DPW? Do you have anything for us?
We met the other night and the fire department went through and did their inspection. There were a few things that needed to be taken care of. Those have been done. The fire department will come in next week, I think, and they will be testing the alarm system again, and we should have our certificate of occupancy by the in the next week or two. And hopefully the DPW can start moving in the middle of October.
Oh, that's outstanding. That's great news.
Awesome. Good news.
Yep, I'm thankful. Yep. So that's good.
Awesome. And then, thank you for that update. And then the other update, Heather and I represent the Finance Committee on the Town Administrative Screening Committee. We held our first meeting last week. We met with Bernie Lynch from Community Paradigm. The committee decided that we want to get some community input. So we are in the process of coming up with a Google, what's it called, Heather? Google form?
A
Google Doc, yeah.
Google Doc.
Yeah, Google
to-
Form, Google, yeah. Mhm.
to get input from the public. We're going to meet with the consultant again on October 14th,
Mhm.
Wednesday, the 14th, to review that. And then we're going to be pretty much dormant for a month while they advertise the position. I sent out, Heather, you should have got this afternoon or actually Bernie sent out this afternoon a schedule.
Timeline.
A timeline, and the timeline that he's put into place has resumes due by the middle of November, with us doing our interviews sometime in the end of November, beginning of December, and then us deciding on the finalists and turning it over to the select board. And then the select board will hopefully make a decision sometime in February or January. And hopefully the town administrator starts, early next spring. So I'm very excited. It's a good committee. It's a good process. Bernie Lynch and Community Paradigm really know what they're doing. So I think we're going to get a great town administrator out of this process. I'm excited to participate, and I'm sure Heather feels the same. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I was on the committee when we had hired Tim, and I will say that I'm impressed by that consulting company. I think it'll definitely make it a smoother process, and I think I think we missed out on a lot of things when we, I know 10 years ago it was obviously a lot different environment, but I'm pleased that we have this company with us, because I honestly think, like you said, I think we're gonna find a really great town administrator.
Sue?
I think we will too, because I was on that committee 12 years ago
Yep.
too, and we didn't have a consulting firm. The only question I wanted to ask Mark is that I know they're going to send out a questionnaire or a form. They're going to in touch with the department heads. Are they going to get in touch with some of the committees like Finance Committee to give our input?
Well, we're represented. Heather and I are here to represent the Finance Committee. So if there's feedback that members of the Finance Committee want us to consider and bring forward for next Thursday or Wednesday, we meet with him on the 14th, please send me or Heather an email, and we will carry that forward to the consulting firm. And anybody in the public that's watching or listening in, we definitely want input from the community, and we want to work with the select board in developing the community profile that will advertise this position and explain the kind of candidate that Grafton is looking for. It's a really good process.
Yeah,
It's
and
a
I
really
think
good process.
Yeah, and I think, Sue, if you, obviously, Mark or I will take that back to the to Paradigm, but I know that they are going to advertise this. Aren't they advertising the link to put your so you could do it that way. I mean, we'll take it.
Google. I could do Google.
You could do it yourself, is what I'm saying. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But either way, it'll get in their hands.
Right.
Excellent. Anything else? Hey, I think this was a great meeting tonight. We accomplished a lot of stuff. We got a lot of good information. Thank you, Sue, for coordinating all the meetings, and thanks to the people that came forward and presented the articles tonight. I really look forward to spending some quality time with the town administrator tomorrow night to answer some of the questions that we have, that Barry and Dan have on the various articles. So we'll see you all tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor by roll call: Barry,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Heather,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Gopal,
Aye.
Irene,
Aye.
Mark, aye. Barry, you had something else before we leave?
There were no questions.
Thanks.
Oh, good point, Barry. I forgot.
See, Barry did a great job. We'll see you all tomorrow night. Thank you, everyone.
All right.